Hello and welcome to Manny's Makings. Today we are going to do number 4 in our making chain series. So today we are going to be making these links here. They're quite decorative and lots of fun. See if you can see them any better. So I put it together in a bracelet, and as you can see I've made a bigger same element and put some beads on it, and I've used one of these elements for a clasp, and you can use them as clasps as well. They're sort of a modified S-hook, and that's basically what I'm using. So I'm going to show you the steps in the process to doing this. What you're going to need today for this project is, if you're going to do the main bracelet components, you need 20 gauge. And you need 18 gauge if you're going to do the clasp and the little extra element piece that I did in the front. If you're going to add beads, then you need to find some beads that you like. These are 3mm Czech fire polish, and I've used them before in another video. You're going to need some jump rings, 2 different sizes. So one is a 4mm, I think, and the other one is a 6mm. They came in a package that I got them together, so one's a little smaller, and I using the smaller one to hook the links together, and this is around the clasp area. So yeah, you only need a couple of the bigger ones, and then you need a lot of the smaller ones. You can use whatever size jump rings works for you. Don't hesitate. You're going to need a bench block or something to pound on today, so you're going to need a chasing hammer. You always need a ruler when you work with me. Even though I sort of rough cut it, I still like to measure to start. You're going to need round nose pliers. You're going to need wire straighteners to straighten your wire before you start. You're going to need flush cutters, or nippers as I like to call them. That's what they're called here in Canada. So get your supplies ready. Oh yeah, you're going to need some weaving wire. This is just a scrap of weaving wire I have from another project to weave the beads on if you're going to do that. So get all your stuff ready, and I'll come back and we'll go from there. Okay, so now that you've got everything ready, you're going to need to cut some pieces of wire, and these are 1.5 inches long each, and I've done them like normal where both ends are flush. I started with that way so we don't have to worry about it. You're going to need 11 of these if you're going to do it the same way I'm going to do it, with a bigger element and with a clasp at the end with a bigger element. Otherwise, yeah. So you need 11 if you're going to do them 1.5 inches, and each finished piece comes out to just 1/2 inch. So based on your wrist size, you can figure out how many you're going to need. So you need 11 of these, and then you're going to need 2 at 2.5 inches of the 18 gauge, and those are going to be for making the clasp. So let's show you how this works. So you've cut everything, everything's nice and flush. Let me zoom in a little bit. Let's see if I can stay on screen. So what you're going to need to do is take your round nose pliers, and this is going to seem familiar because you've done something similar to this before, but you're going to just take the tip of it and you're going to make a curl at the tip. Whoops. Don't try not to do that, because then it makes it really hard. I'm having fun today. I've done like 20 of these already, and I've had no problems, and of course as soon as I get on camera. So you're making one loop one way, and now you're going to make the other loop the opposite way. So I just hold it so that the B part of is towards my belly at the bottom, and then I'm doing it again. So I'm just bringing the wire and bringing my pliers around, and then to make sure it's closed, I just shift my pliers a little bit and push it in. So you end up with a piece that looks like this. Let's see if I can get it on my finger. There you go. So you have one loop going one way, one loop going the other way. Okay? So now you're going to take your pliers, and this will depend on your plier width, how far you need to go down. As you can see, my pliers have different size tips, so depending on which tip I use, it makes a difference. But you need to figure this out, and I'm going to explain to you how to figure this out, and then how to fix it if it doesn't work exactly right. So I'm going to do it wrong first so that you can see. I'm going to go farther than I know I need. I need to be about here, and I'm going to go down to about here. And I got the loop in my pliers like so. Okay? And then you're going to twist this just like as if you were going to make another loop until the wire touches the loop. So you have this. That's what you just made, was that side. Okay? Now you're going to put the bottom loop towards your belly again, and this loop is towards your belly again too, and you're going to put it back in the place again, and I'm butting it up right against the loop. So see, I'm bringing my pliers right up against my loop, and you're going to turn it the other way. Now, because I didn't put it in the right place, whoops, this is what happens. Now, you can use that. It'll work as a link, because you're going to attach here and here, or you could even do it here and here, but you'd have to have the fear of it stretching. So this is how you fix it. Let's say you got one side right, one side wrong. You want to get it towards the middle. You're going to put your pliers back in, and you're going to bend it open. I'm doing this with very little pressure because I don't want to make big dents. Bend it open. It's easier to make it bigger than it is smaller, just so you know. You're going to pull back and forth, and I'm just pushing and pulling and bringing it down. Okay, I need to go a little farther down my pliers, so I'm pushing and see if I can get this to focus. Come on, baby. Okay, so I'm pushing and I'm pulling. I've got my pliers in, and I'm pushing and I'm pulling, but I'm pushing downwards to make it smaller and making it meet up. So that hole is a lot smaller now than that hole. So if I put this down here, you can see the difference. See? I made this one a lot smaller now. So now let's fix the other side. So I'm putting my pliers in, and I'm opening it up. See? I'm opening it up gently, and then I'm shimmying it down. And then put my pliers in and shimmying it down. The idea is you want the loop to look like this. So it's almost like the infinity loop where it meets in the middle, really close. And you're going to need to make 11 of those. But let's do another one. So we'll do it the right way this time. So again, put your pliers on your tip, and then you're going to roll. Now I've left too much up, and I can see that. So I'm going to put it, there we go. And I'm bringing it around. I'm trying to do this shoot this a little differently today. Trying some new things because I want to try to make the best videos I can for you. And please remember, if you like my videos and want to see more and you're learning things from me, please like, share, and subscribe. You know, continue watching. It's really important. Okay, so this time I've made my 2 loops, so I have my 2 going the opposite directions. And you don't have to be absolutely perfect with this, because we're going to hammer it, and then we're going to have to tweak it a little bit after we hammer it anyways, okay? So put it in. So see the piece facing my belly, this P here. See, whoops. I'll show you this way. Whoop, that way. Okay, so the P is facing my belly, and this one in the bottom is facing the opposite direction. Okay, and then I'm going to try, this is the weirdest angle I've ever done this on, so I don't know how this is going to work. But I'm bringing this around until it touches there. Okay, so that's what the motion is you're trying to do, but it's much easier if you do it on a level plane. So I'm showing you the top end of everything. And I think this is too big. Yep. Okay. See, it's just a smidge too big. I made that first loop bigger than the second loop. So I got to fix that first loop. That was the one I tried to do from the weird angle. Open it up. Squidgy, 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 squidgy. And all I'm doing is I'm doing this with my hand, and I'm pulling down at the same time so that it doesn't mess up the wire, but it makes the loop smaller. Okay? So make yourself as many as you need, and then come back when you've done that, and we'll go to part 2. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to go to part 2. So I did the first one, and I do it the same way, except for I use the widest part of my pliers to make the bigger loop, and same here. And now this is the centerpiece one, so I'm going to actually take it in my hands, and I'm going to bend it over. I'm bending this wire here over top of this loop here, just a smidge, and then I'm going to do it the opposite way for the other one. and it gives it more a swervy look. And it centers it more, so that when you get it hammered and I actually give it a curve after I finish hammering it, and I string the beads between the two loops. That becomes your center focal piece, and this is in the 18 gauge, so this is a little stronger, a little harder to do. So there's that one. And then I'm going to show you how to do the clasp, which is almost exactly the same. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to go to the tip, just like always. I'm doing my little roundabout. With the higher gauge wire, you have to make sure it matches up a little bit better, because after I hammer it, it's going to be really hard to change anything. Oh. There we go. Alright, so now I'm going to go down to the fat end of my pliers. Now, one of the things you have to worry about with the clasp is that this loop has to be pretty small. So I'm actually going to change to my other end of my pliers, and I'm going to tuck this in even more, because this is the piece that's going to go in through the other loop, and you don't want it to be too big. Okay, so you have this so far. You have the 1/2 like you did the other one, and now you have this piece, and this piece has to be a lot bigger. So I tend to take it towards the middle more. I don't go straight towards the middle more. I don't go, not the middle of the piece that's left. If it was cut off here, there's a piece that's left. I go to that middle, and then I make the loop about 2/3 of the way up, and I make the loop. I have to be a little careful here, and I'm coming back up here. I want a bigger, like a fish hook. Okay, so the only difference is this loop is a lot bigger, and this is going to be the piece that will hook in. It'll hook in to the other piece. Okay, now it's going to be a jump ring that it's hooking into, or the last link that I made. So you can always check against your links. So I made some links here, so let me check and see if this fits. Yes, it fits. See, it has to fit your link size. Now you can make these smaller if you wish. With I wouldn't go much smaller gauge wire, because I wouldn't guarantee the sturdiness. You can try it if you'd like. You know, if you want to wrap each one of them in the middle with wire or something, it would be fine. So now we have our hook that's going to be our clasp, and as you can see, it's not level, it's all kinky and weird. We're going to flatten them now. Okay, so now you're taking your block, and this is going to get a little noisy, and let me zoom back out a bit. Okay, so you're taking your block, and you're taking your chasing hammer, and plug your ears if you don't like a lot of noise. And you're going to take each one, and I'm on a rubber mat, so this helps a little bit, and you're going to hammer it. And I like to just hold my hammer, you know, fairly close to the top. I'm not smashing the snot out of these. I'm trying to work harden them and flatten them just slightly. I'm not trying to make them flare out. And when you do that, this is what you get. See how it's nice and shiny and flat? And it also work hardens it, so it's much harder. You can move it, but you have to really, you know, push a lot harder. So you need to hammer all of those. And with these ones, with the one that's going to be the decorative one in the middle, see, the loops are more equal, and this one, the loops are different. See the difference? With this one here, I want to take it, and as I'm hammering, I want to push out. And you can hammer the whole thing, but on the tips, I want to push out as I'm hammering down. And that's going to flare those ends and make them thinner. And I want to go quite thin with it. So, see how I'm just sort of pushing out? And I'm going to do this a lot. And I'm going to flip it over and do it on the other side. And then I'm going to flip the whole thing over and do it on that side too. And what's going to end up happening is I'm going to get a flattened piece. So hammer all your pieces, every single one of them, and come back. Okay, now that you've got that done, I'm going to show you the centerpiece. I actually hammered it, and then I took it and used the ball peen end of my hammer to give it a hammered look. There you can see it a little bit, that it's all sort of already beat up and hammered. So I love that. Makes it look good. So one of the things you have to watch is that you know, squeak it in if you need to, and it's better to go over and then make it touch again. Go over and make it touch again. And then I'm going to take this, and I'm holding the middle piece, and I'm just giving it a little bend, because it's going to be on your wrist, and a little bend. Okay, and then that way it makes a little bit of a curve. And then I'm going to wire wrap beads in here. But we'll put it together first without the wire wrapping, and then you can do the wire wrapping after, or you can do it before. It doesn't matter. Makes no difference. And with the clasp, as you can see, I just hammered it flat. There's no, and I know, sorry about the glare and the shine. Maybe if I turn this light off. Whoop, that's turning a light on. That's not helping any better. But it's flat. It's not, see, it's flat. And this hook is a lot stronger now. And you can still push it in if you need to close it tighter, but it's going to hold up. And this here, it's pretty close. I'm pushing pretty good with my thumb. I don't know if you can see that it's actually indenting my flesh. Okay, so this is pretty sturdy. It's going to be a clasp. And now let's put it together. So first thing you need to do is take your little jump rings. And these are not great jump rings, just so you know. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Because they came to me where, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to move this stuff out of the way so it doesn't interfere with the focus. See how they're overlapping funny? So I have to actually pull them out a little bit to get them to work, which is not something I like to have to do. So just taking it and give it a twist, pulling it a little bit outwards, which you're not supposed to do with the jump ring, so that I can get it matched up so I know I'm good. Then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to put 2 of these loops, the small ones, on here. And I just lost my jump ring. There it is. Try that one again. So I'm going to put 2 of these on here. And the reason I'm doing 2 is that I'm going to build this in sections, so I only need 1 jump ring to attach the 2 of them. And you close your jump ring. There we go. I got the little clicky clicky happening. Just double check. Make sure she's good. I can find the slot without... Well, if I can't find the slot, then I'm good. Okay, so you're going to put them together like this. And depending on how many you need for your size of bracelet, in mine it's, I said 11, so... That's, what, 6 on one side and 5 on the other side. So I'm going to put them together. So I get 2 sets of 2, and then, you know, put those 2 sets of 2 together. That gives you, you know, the 4, and then add the 1 more. So I'm going to do that, put those together, and then we'll add the clasp, and then we'll add the centerpiece. Welcome back. I'm just putting the last one on. There's a couple things I wanted to mention. A lot of people have the question, can you hammer coated wire? Because that's what this is. Yeah, you can. The thing is you have to be gentler with it. You can't be crazy with it. And the reason is that you can chip off the coating and the coloring, but it takes quite a bit of pounding. Like, you know, the one I did for the center takes quite a bit of pounding. Now these ones here, I didn't pound them as much. I just flattened them, and they still have the coating on them. They still have everything. I've worn similar things. I've made these kind of chains for a while. Many of my friends have them, and it hasn't caused any problems. Now, when I took it and used the ball peen on it, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little duller looking. And I think what happens is that the coating gets affected. So it's still, you can't see any copper. This is a copper wire underneath. You can't see any of the copper, but you can see it's a little duller. So I would definitely put a, you know, a little, give it a quick, you can even spray with PIM, or you can use, there's some rubs and stuff like that that you can use. I can't remember the name of it. But anyways, to make sure that it's protected and extra sealed. But I haven't had any problems, and I've done hammering on it. Now, you can't take it and hammer it so thin that it's like razor thin, because you will eventually hammer the coating, you know, it's non-tarnished wire. It's got a coating on it. I can't explain it. You eventually will, you know, hammer it right off. And so there's a limit to what you can do, but you can hammer it, and I've done it quite successfully for a number of years now. So definitely, you know, you see it all over the place. So people are hammering coated wires. Some wires are better than others. ParaWire is particularly really good. Some of them aren't so great. So far what I've done is made one side that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The other one has 5. Now, one of the other things I did is I went back too and checked to make sure the loops were close. Now, somebody says, oh, well, can't they just slip off? Well, I made sure these jump rings that I put on were smaller than the end loops. So even if you try, you actually can't. I'm trying and I can't get it to come off because they're smaller than these, so it won't come off, which is wonderful. And that's sort of a rule that you have to sort of abide by. So if you make these really big, then you make the loops bigger, then you can use bigger jump rings and so forth. I like this is tiny and dainty and lots of fun. It'd be great with some charms hung on it. It has sort of a Celtic feel, which is really lovely. You could do a proper Celtic knot and put it as a centerpiece, or a bead in the center that's a Celtic bead, or you could do whatever. It's quite feminine and pretty, and you also can use these links in between. Remember I showed you in another video where I did the ones with the beads in the middle, the wrapped loops? So you could use those or rosary beads with a heavier gauge wire and put them with, you know, instead of having the jump ring in the middle, you could have a beaded bead in the middle, which would be lovely. You know, add a little gemstone bling or whatever you'd like to do. So there's the possibilities again are endless. I'm giving you sort of components as part of this wire chain making, is that you can use in other different ways and you can combine them. So I can use the S-links, you know, infinity link chain with this. I can, you know, do the beaded chain with this. I can add the 3 of them together. I can, you know, mix and match. So that's the fun of designing, is that it gives you the basic tools and you can take the tools and go from there. Enough of me preaching. So let's get this last 2 on. So I'm using the small loops, and the biggest thing is that I have to make sure that they actually fit on and over this hammered piece. So I'm just going to double check. Yes, there's lots of room. I want to see that there's room for movement with both of them in there, that they're not going to bind up on each other. And as long as they are, you can leave it at that size, or you can make it bigger. So I've added one side of the chain, and the centerpiece I'm only putting 1 on, and she's closed up, so that's good. And so there's the centerpiece laid to this side. And find my middle, open it up, add this and the other side of the centerpiece. And this chain finds its own flatness, so you don't have to worry about how you put it on. There's no right way or wrong way as far as it actually lining itself up. So that's what we have so far. We have the piece coming together, and let's zoom out because you don't need to see me do chainmail anymore. Yep. Okay, and now we're going to add the clasp. So this end's longer, so I'm going to put it on this end. And with the clasp, because first of all, you're going to fiddle with it a lot. You're going to be grabbing a hold of it to hook it in, right? I like to do a double jump ring. For me, it just makes more sense. And it makes sure that it's secure. So I'm putting it on this end, and I'm putting it on this end of my, it's the non-open shorter side of the unit. The other thing is, with 2 jump rings, I don't have to worry so much about the hole size that this jump ring can't come off. See, now this jump ring could come off with its 1. If it's 2, it's less likely. And if you're really, really worried, you could wrap a little tiny bit of wire right here between, not the opening one, but between this one and this one, and just close it off. I've never lost one yet. So I do a similar hook that's with a double wire that's got a wrapping on it. I've used that, and I've used this one. So now we have to put the second one on. So I usually take it and put the 2 together. So the 2 holes are where I can find them, and stick it through the 2 holes. my jump ring sealed, and I'm good. So now you have a bracelet. So there you go. This hooks in to this, and it's quite easy to put on your wrist. And if I decorated this here, like this one, that's the only difference between the two, is one has decorations and one doesn't, as you can see. They're almost exactly the same. So it's a great chain. I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy playing with this new chain. I don't even know what to call it. It's a modified S-hook. Is the only thing I can think of. So I'll probably call it S-hook chain. There's probably a name for it out there somewhere, but I don't know what it is. Enjoy. Take care. Keep on making for Manny's Makings. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And see you next time.